Well, welcome to this installment of Nina and Pinta's Spotlight On Series. Today, we will be speaking with Paul Abbott, CEO of American Express Global Business Travel, or GBT for short. Paul has worked in numerous countries with GBT, including Canada, where I first met him when I was with PwC and he was on an international rotation. He makes a strong and lasting impression as a genial, engaging person, and he has made a huge contribution to GBT over his career. I'm very pleased to be able to speak with him today. Our Spotlight Series format is to ask senior industry executives 5 questions about their organization's outlook on important aspects of the industry, each to be answered within 2 minutes. Paul, it's great to see you once again, and thank you for taking the time to speak with us.
Oh, thank you, Garth. Thank you for the kind introduction as well. It's very good to reconnect and can't wait to come and visit you in Canada sometime soon.
Well, hopefully the next time we see each other will be in person for sure.
Definitely.
Our first question. Given the last year with the human and economic devastation and now what is being called a miracle of science with the new effective and safe vaccines coming to market in record time, what needs to happen to restart travel?
Well, first and foremost, I think we need to rebuild trust and confidence, and people need to feel it's safe. And I think actually a lot of really good work has been done across the industry to ensure that that is possible. Second, we need demand, of course, to return. And again, where travel is permitted, we're actually seeing pretty healthy levels of demand. The third area is really where we face the biggest challenge, and that's government restrictions. It's the single biggest barrier to getting travel restarted. And frankly, governments hold the keys right now to safely restarting travel. And unfortunately, I'd say so far, governments have been slow to adapt and been pretty disjointed in their approach. And we have to change that. And now's the time we have to change that, because we now need to make sure that we have a very clear, consistent plan in place to restart travel. And that means the industry partnering with governments to make sure that we've got solutions in place for the safe restart of travel. And, I think we have the pieces of the puzzle here, Garth. I really do. I think it doesn't mean that one size fits all solution. I think different countries are going to be at different stages of the pandemic here, and that's going to be the case through 2021. But we can move to a set of common risk-based protocols. The CDC and WHO, for example, classifying countries, low risk, medium risk, high risk, and countries having an agreed set of protocols between those countries. Low risk to low risk travel, no restrictions required. Medium risk, maybe it's PCR negative test 72 hours before. High risk countries, maybe it's negative test before travel and a test on arrival. It can be done, is really the point I'm trying to make. But we've got to get decision makers together to align on a common set of protocols, because the bewildering set of restrictions that are in place right now is just not sustainable and has to change. And we're doing a lot of work with IATA, with WTTC, with GBTA, and with governments direct to try and help facilitate that change, including we're trying to get the G7 meeting in the UK to have a specific focus on this safe restart of travel, which I hope will happen.
Well, it's such a huge component of the global economic welfare that it'd be great if that could be achieved.
Absolutely.
Question number 2. How is the role of the TMC changing in the new travel environment?
Well, I think the role of the TMC is changing because the needs of our customers are changing, and there's no question about that. And I think obviously many of your audience are travel managers, and I think the role of the travel manager is certainly evolving in these circumstances. It's becoming more complex, but also it's becoming a lot more strategic. And the stakes are a lot higher than they've ever been. Travel managers now suddenly have got the well-being of their organization at stake, and are being asked some pretty complex strategic questions by their executive, by the C-suite. What does duty of care look like in this new environment? How do we rebuild trust and confidence with our travelers? Where do our liabilities as an employer start and stop in this new environment? how do we assess the return on investment of travel, in this new environment? So travel has become more complex, but it's also become more strategic. And I think that that's an opportunity for travel managers to really make a more strategic contribution to the company, but also definitely an opportunity for the TMC, to embrace that complexity. It's our role to simplify the process of travel. And, you could argue, although demand has never been lower, the opportunity to create value has never been higher, because customers definitely need the process of travel to be simplified now. So opportunities to innovate, opportunities to adapt your products and services. Like we recently launched a new product called Travel Vitals to help customers aggregate all the information that they need to travel in this environment. So I definitely see it as a real sort of defining moment for our industry and a defining moment for American Express GBT to deliver in this next phase and really to lead the safe restart of travel.
Exactly. And if there is a silver lining, it's very faint, but this pause has allowed a reinspection of how things have been done and looking forward to innovation, as you say.
Yeah,
Right?
definitely. Yeah.
Next question. And how has the travel buyer scorecard changed?
Well, that's a good question. I think many industries in this environment have sort of seen an acceleration of existing trends. And actually, I think that's what we've seen in travel as well. I mean, sometimes we maybe look at them and think they're new trends, but I actually don't think they are. I think most of them is an acceleration of existing trends. Traveler well-being, of course, and duty of care isn't new, but of course, now it's really central to the buyer scorecard in this environment. Sustainability is not a new discussion, but the change really now is that it's not a discussion anymore. It's central to buying decisions, both for the traveler and for, the travel manager and for the chief procurement officer. Data privacy and cybersecurity, again, a very important subject before the pandemic, but these last 12 months, I think it's become an even more dynamic and complex space. And clients are raising the bar in this area every single month. Diversity and inclusion, obviously a very important subject, before the pandemic, but I think this last 12, 18 months, we've seen a real acceleration of the importance of creating a diverse and inclusive environment, and companies wanting to deal with suppliers that actually are serious about creating a diverse and inclusive environment, not just talking about it, but actually taking real actions. And it's influencing their buying decisions. Digital, of course, has been an accelerator across all industries. Travel's no exception. So I think that will just increase the appetite for travelers to have a fully integrated, intuitive digital experience. And then service, I'm encouraged by this because I think service sometimes has been a little commoditized in our industry, and it's really, I think, come back into focus. And I think that's because as we've gone through the pandemic, and particularly that early phase, I think some companies proved that they were kind of built for times like this, that they have the financial stability, they have the brand commitment, they have the commitment to customer service, they have the technology and the infrastructure to respond to this environment, and frankly, some didn't. And I think that that's been a bit of a defining moment for service industries. There are those that stepped up and delivered, and there are those that didn't. And I think that will stay in the front of the minds of buyers for some time. So those are sort of, I would say, the clear trends that we're seeing. Okay,
I'll pick out one of them on the sustainability front, and I'll put in a plug for the TAMS sustainability committee that I'm on, and starting to make good headway on that particular issue. Thank you.
It's an exciting area where I think we can all make a huge difference.
The inertia certainly seems to have changed in the last 12 to 18 months, as you note.
Definitely.
So with all this change, how do you see the future?
Well, predicting the future has been tough these last 12 months, but here goes. Look, I mean, the harsh reality is that I saw from IATA this morning that there are more travel restrictions in place now than at any point in 2020. So, we're still in a real winter of discontent, in the travel industry. But I do see a spring of hope ahead of us. As the vaccine rollout, improved treatments, rapid testing, and I believe that it will lead us out of this situation as we go through this year. But as I said before, we have to be ready. Governments have to be ready. The industry has to be ready. It's no good sitting around hoping that things are going to go back to normal. We've got to actually be acting now to prepare to adapt to a new environment and putting in place the protocols and the plans and the frameworks to make sure that we can lead the safe restart of travel. And I'm optimistic that we can do that, and we will do that, because fundamentally I'm optimistic about the future of business travel. I believe in the value of business travel, and I'm well aware. I'm also a realist. I'm well aware that some companies will look back in the last 10 months and say, well, we didn't travel for 10 months and our business has done okay. And look, that may be true for the fortunate few, but I think the last 10 months have also shown us what a world without travel looks like, right? And what a world without meeting people in person looks like. And we've seen the largest ever drop in global GDP. We've seen record levels of unemployment. We've seen record increases in mental health issues. So yes, we've coped, but we've coped in a real kind of diminished state. And I do fundamentally believe that now I am starting to see a shift, that people are understanding that the last 12 months have not been a good barometer for making decisions in the future. It's been a level playing field, nobody traveling. I think the future decisions, we're going to reach a point where your competitors will be traveling, and it becomes a different decision then, about whether you stay sat at your kitchen table when your competitors are all out on the road. Yeah, well, competition is a powerful force, and customers are a powerful force. And so look, I'm optimistic about the medium to long-term future. But as I said before, I think it definitely requires governments and industry to partner and make some pretty fundamental and quick decisions over these next few months.
Well, hopefully we can help drive that change from within the industry. Obviously, a lot of factors from different political situations within countries and whatnot, but it is critical, as you note, with GDP. Yeah. The drops have just been incredible. Yeah. Last question, hopefully a little bit lighter. I understand that you may have traveled in the last few months per the guidelines. What has your experience been like?
Yeah, well, actually, I managed to travel still 20 times in 2020. I sat down and added them up, but obviously a lot less than usual, a lot less than I would have done. But in between the various restrictions, it was possible to get out and meet the teams and customers. It's funny. I definitely my overwhelming feeling was actually one of sort of childlike enthusiasm for being back traveling. When something's taken away from you, you actually do appreciate it a lot more.
Don't you?
And although there's a little bit of anxiety, going to the airport, with your negative PCR test result and not knowing quite what to expect. And for somebody who's traveled on business every week for 30 years, it's kind of odd to have that sense of anxiety. Although fortunately, I have a really good travel management company that made sure I knew everything in advance. I had to get that plugged in, guy. But no, honestly, I really, the feeling of excitement, actually, and getting on a plane and going to a new country and to meet people I haven't seen for a while and reconnecting with old friends, it just felt like a privilege again, something that maybe I'd taken for granted. So I hope everybody gets to share those emotions soon. And look, the travel is, as you just mentioned, it's central to economic progress. 10% of global GDP, 10% of all jobs worldwide. But it's central to social progress. Travel builds tolerance, builds understanding. And I love that Mark Twain quote, that, travel is fatal to prejudice, bigotry and narrow-mindedness.
I hadn't heard that one, but that's great.
It's
Yeah.
a great quote. It actually goes on a little longer than that, but it really is. It is fatal to prejudice, bigotry, and narrow-mindedness. And the world is a better place with travel.
Yeah.
Simple.
I took a gap year before it was called a gap year after high school, and did the grand tour of Europe, and it was the best education I could have had, getting me ready for undergrad school. For sure, meeting so many people and seeing different ways of doing things, right? So
absolutely. Yeah.
Well, Paul, thank you very much for your time. Once again, it's great to see you again. And like we're saying, hopefully the next time is in person.
Yeah, thank you very much. Thanks for the opportunity, Garth, and I hope to see you soon.
Yeah. Thanks, Paul.